So hello guys, today we would see that in this video how to use Claude for better use of AI in your day-to-day works. So as you know, as you might already be knowing that Claude is one of the AI tools which we can use to help our personal productivity as well as our to meet our business goals, right? So what is Claude? So let us go and explore it. So this is how the tab looks. I've opened claude.ai/login. So let's take continue with Google. Okay. So I'm going to click on my Google account. So it will ask the permissions from Google that whether we can permit Claude to use the information coming from Google. So I'm just going to hit on continue. Okay, so let's create our account. So there are a few terms and conditions which we have to agree on. Subscribe to occasional promotional mail. So you can either tick this or you don't need to tick on it. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and create my account. Okay, as you can see, there are many plans which Cloud offers, right? There is a pro plan which you can use for research, code, and organize, and it comes to around 17 USD per month, right? Which is basically around I think 1,650 rupees as of the present exchange rate. And you also have a max plan which gives you like far more access, around 5 times or 20 times more which you get here in pro. So this is from around 100 USD per month, right? So which is again around 10,000 Indian rupees per month. So there is a large difference there, but for this purpose, but for this video's purpose, we are just going to use Claude for free. So I'm just going to click here on this button. Get the most out of Claude on your desktop, right? So it says it presents us for a few options uh, if you want to install the Claude desktop app. So I'm just going to skip it this time. A few things to know plus one setting to review. Okay, so Claude does not show any chats when we. Sorry, Claude does not show any ads when we type any prompts, and there are some. It says so that there are some automated safeguards to protect the chats from violent, abusive, and deceptive content. And you can also choose to click this if you want the chats to improve the AI models, right? So I'm just going to leave it as it is and click on continue. So enter your name. Okay, so I'm just going to enter my name and click on continue. Select your role. I'm just going to hit on software engineer, explain the code pattern, review my PR. I'll just say click on like I have my own topic. Okay, so this just finishes the onboarding and I'm at the main page of Claude. Okay, so now let's start exploring it one by one. Okay, so here we go. Well, I'm not, planning to work on any code at the moment, so I'm just going to show you, like, what are the some of the basic capabilities of cloud. So we will just go in and put some prompts, right? So as it is with all other AI tools, we need to be careful when we are like, putting some prompts. It's not only to improve the efficiency, but also to save on credits. But since I'm presently using the free plan, it does not matter. But still, we are just going to go ahead. Okay. So here I'm going to give the instructions, that is how it needs to assess my prompt, or how it needs to consider the information which I'm going to give in my prompt. Okay, so first I'm just going to type that this is an audit only. um, I need only documentation with some real world examples. Okay, yeah, so before I type the rest of the prompt, I just want to highlight here that you're having two things here. So one is the model. So we get access to, I guess, Sonnet 4.6 and Haiku 4.5. So these are basically AI models, and there are different AI models which is more optimized for chat, images, video, documentation, and all that, which I'm going to cover in my next video. And there is also something called as effort. So as it says, higher effort means more thorough responses, but it takes longer and uses your limits faster. So what does it mean by limits is that here, since I'm on free plan, I don't think I'm having access to it, but there is something called as usage, right? If you see somewhere here, okay, it doesn't show here. So there is something called as usage, where if you are on a paid plan, then uh, it works on credit. So credit is something like, for example, for every effort, it deducts certain credits from your balance. So suppose that if you have topped up for around say like $100, which is around uh, like what is it, like 10,000 rupees, yeah, which is around 10,000 rupees, then you can get access to say like 4 days of work. Okay, so and if you suppose put some prompt which is just you need some information on chat, then it might take around 3 credits. But if you expect a video as well as a documentation, then it might take around 20 or 25 credits. Okay, so you have to be careful with what models you're using. So I'm just going to leave it here at medium. Okay, what model and what effort you have selected. I need to know the HDI and social index information of the following Indian states. Okay, for the last 3 fiscal years. So I'm just going to show what just put Karnataka because I'm from Karnataka. Maybe Goa and oops. Okay, so I guess it started to consider that as an input, but what I actually wanted was the uh, to hit the shift enter. Okay, so I'm just going to put one more, say like Andhra Pradesh. Okay, okay, and make sure that the document includes reference information for the data, neat bar, okay, so neat bar and line graph and some representational image. Okay, uh, the title, I'm not sure if you can see, okay, the title of the document needs to be India DI and social information, and the theme needs to be white with mix of black and blue font, blue text or blue font. Okay, so whatever. So I'll just go and hit on save and let it execute. So as you can see, so the moment I enter the prompt, it goes into the thinking mode, and here it's basically it's like in the initial phase, it just what it does is that it's like a basic Google search in the backend, right? So it opens up many threads, uh, Googles all the information, or refers to various different like search engines, different documentations. It depends on the models, right? So as I can see, as I've given here that I need social index and HDA information, which is more of research based. So it needs accurate data and correct what is that statistical data. So as I can see, it's going and hitting the global HDI index, or the Indian states and union territories HDI index, the human development index, and referring to different statistical sites. So you can see the effort it's putting in. And here, like as it is thinking and making the answer ready for us, there is also a button which says that notify. So when Claude responds, I can basically notify so that I can like close this tab, or go to Instagram, go to carry on with the rest of my work, right? So it's as you can see, it's fetching from different sites. Okay, so let us see like what happens and how the documentation looks. Okay, so while we get the answer, I'm just going to show you the side panel of Cloud, right? So here is the new chat, where if you click on new chat, what it does is that it basically opens up another chat in parallel, right? Um, Try the basics. So I'm just going to close it, and I'm here. So I've actually come back to my first chat. There are chats which, when you have multiple chats here, you can toggle or you can switch from one chat to another, right? There are also projects, there are also artifacts where you can present some data. The cloud code, okay, so this is a very important limitation in the free plan, which you all need to be aware of, is that the code wherein you can connect your GitHub repositories, you can integrate with your own basically source code, and have it execute some operations against your code that is not available in the free plan, right? So maybe in some other videos of the series, I'm surely going to explain you about Claude Code, because okay, so that is what is going to help the software developers and the backend and SQL developers out there. Okay, there is also a design wherein we need, if you want to, basically put some prompts and design a website, or design any site, like a, a booking website or a travel blog and all that, so you can take the help of it. Okay, so okay, so I can see that now it's executing some Python scripts, right? So you can see Python. I think this is due to the some of the font preferences which I put, a mix of colors, a mix of black and blue. So it usually does not take so much of time, but like I don't know why. Like usually such kind of documentations you can expect it within basically 2 to 3 minutes, and it's like basically adding some like illustration. Right? So let us see how it goes. Okay, so it's okay. I guess since I have not specified what type of documentation I need or what is the extension like, whether it's docx or PDF, I have not explicitly mentioned that in my prompt. Okay, so it's going and building a docx document, which is a Microsoft Word document. So let's check. And it has also, referred certain information, and there is we can see here. If you click on that, you can see what are the sites it has referred, and just click on it. So you can see it has done all these operations. It has come up with that, right? So maybe I can expect my document anytime soon. So let's see. Now creating the file, right? So just to give you a parallel operation, while it uh, prepares the document for me. So there's something called as code. So I'll just write code, and there are a certain data structures, create an API documentation, create monitoring solutions. I'll just go ahead and click on create a monitoring solution. Okay. Okay. So a website or an API, what do you need to monitor? Okay. A business or metrics, servers or infrastructures, a small team, so just exploring some ideas. Okay. So I'll just come back to this. I love to help this. Help with this monitoring solutions can mean a lot of different things. So if you are not, providing much of the information, then it asks information from you on the go, right? So let's go back to our first chat, right? And let us see whether the document is prepared. Okay, so it has done something here. India HDI social information, and it says this all looks clean. The theme is ready with tables, bar line, charts, representational graphs, and all that. So let us go ahead and click how it looks. Okay. Okay, so it opens the documentation here, so that you can continue to browse the rest of Claude, or go ahead with some of the other prompts which you have. I'm not sure if my internet is slow here. Okay, so it has given a reference document. I'll just expand that out here. Okay, so this is how it looks. Claude has really, come up with looks like a comprehensive information. It has reference, Niti Aayog, the index, some international indices out there, and it has come up with a purpose and a scope. See, it is just 3 or 4 lines of prompt. Okay, and whatever Claude has come up here is really comprehensive, and looks like a thesis of that sort. Like it's not easy to prepare a document of such a scale. And I can see there is some graphs here. Looks like it has gone. Okay, that's something to do with the zoom. I think this has come a little bit out of place, so maybe it's due to the model. You can add some corrections. I think I'm not able to see the graph, right? So I think Claude actually miscalculated some of the information. So I'm just going to as the next exercise, I'm just going to okay, to correct the bar line for you. See that the document has been prepared. but the bar graphs, lines, and pictorial representations have not come the way it's expected to be. You just have to be clear. When when some of your colleague or your friend does a mistake, how do you expect yourself to, inform him that he has done a mistake, right? So that's the way you need to put your next prompt. Okay, there is too much of zoom and the pictorial data is not visible at all. Refer the attached screenshot. So I'll just type a mistake. Refer the attached screenshot. Okay. So if you want, you can take a screenshot of that here. Let me just pull it up again. So something like that, right? So I'm just going to open the snipping tool, right? And I'm just going to take a screenshot of that, copy, and paste it back in the chat. Okay. Now, while it goes on and sorts out the pictures and all that, I don't want the actual information to change. Okay, so I'll just put something. Do not change any statistical information. Just sorry, just sort out the pictures and the graphs. Okay, so I just wanted to stick to the corrections part and not make any new like enhancement. So if you want, you can just put it here as an instruction. Okay, fine. So I'll just you what is that? You just send that, and let us come back to the second chat. Okay. So what does it say here? Servers and infrastructure monitoring is a great topic to explore. So it just comes up with some suggestions. So if you're in IT, you might know that server monitoring is a very large concept, right? So there are lots of different things involved there. For example, the CPU, its memory, its disk, network utilization, and all that. So I'm just going to click on disk. Okay, just clicked on disk, and it has auto framed the prompt. So all it took from my side was just click on this button. Okay, there are logs, there are events. So I'll just clicked and it just paraphrased my button click into a meaningful text like explain the disk monitoring space, IOPS and latency. So I'm not sure what IOPS is at the moment. Okay, it's input output operations per second. So this is basically how you can learn with Claude. Okay, now coming back to the first one, okay, fix the three representational state graphics. Okay, so it has found out what the issue was. It seems it was 10x too large. Okay, so maybe when you are like expecting Cloud to make a document, maybe you can give it here. Okay, so I misspelled any as and here, so sorry for that. So maybe you can mention here that whatever you need. So for example, like along with this, you can put that also sort of the zoom of the representation. Okay, so that you don't have to correct it after you see it. So now it's going to come here and do it. Okay. Hello everyone, very warm welcome to my YouTube channel, and as you can see, I have been, informing my some of the candidates and my friends who are looking for a job that how do you actually crack interviews, right? So if you see the other videos in my YouTube channel, I have been, putting some shots or putting some videos about AI interviews, whatever is trending on YouTube and the interview scene. So today I am coming up with top 10 actual interview questions for CS or IT or software developer freshers and also entry level job seekers in India. So the focus area will be questions for the core technical foundations for the IT services and product based campus drives, or now since it's July, August, like September, the campus season will start, right? And also most of you might also have been attending or looking to attend off-campus interviews in like job fairs or in job melas and employment fairs and all that, and you all might be looking for some sort of ideas on what are the different questions which they ask, right? So this is for exactly for you guys, and let us see what are the first question. Okay, so the first question is going to be, what are the core object oriented programming concepts, right? So yeah, many of you might think, hey, like who is actually or who exactly will be wanting to ask questions on OOPS and object-oriented programming in this era of AI, right? So see, basically you all have to understand that SDLC or the software development lifecycle, OOPS, all these are actually the fundamentals, right? So the questions are going to be on fundamentals, whatever you have learned in the 4 years of engineering or in your degree, right? So the first question is, what are the core OOP concepts? So the answer is pretty simple. The abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. Okay. So this is how we can like remember AEIP. Okay. So AEIP, abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. So basically, what is abstraction? Abstraction is something like, you might have seen a switchboard, right? When you enter a room, you want to switch on the fan, you have to switch on the AC, you have to connect your charger and all that. So what you will be saying is that only the front end or the switches and the regulator and the sensors will be displayed to you, but you will not be seeing the wires which are behind that. What are the complex electric circuits and all that wiring behind the building and all that, you know so that is actually abstracted from you, and that is exactly what is abstraction. Similarly, you have encapsulation, which is wrapping data, variables, and code together. Inheritance, that is whatever properties are there in the parent will be inherited by the child. And polymorphism, which is the ability of a message, function, or object to take on multiple forms. So let's go and see the remaining 9 questions. Okay. So what are the basic differences between method overloading and method overriding? Okay, so as you can see the answer on the screen, the method overloading occurs within the same class when two or more methods share the same name but have different parameters. Okay, but method overriding occurs when a child class provides a specific implementation of a method that is already defined in its parent class. Okay, so this causes trouble when you have the same method but different parameters. That is the method overloading. But when you have the different class and the same method signature and the return type that is resolved at runtime is called method overriding. Okay, so let us go to the next question. Okay, so what is the difference between a stack and a queue? I'll just give you a pretty simple example. You are standing in a queue at a function, at a wedding or a reception, and you have the catering, right? The catering will put the stalls, and the different plates will be kept one on top of each other. So as soon as you come near the plate, you will not be taking the plate which is at the bottom, right? So you will be taking a plate which is at the top. The person behind you will then take this plate which is at the top for him. So that is, if your plate is n, then n minus 1, n minus 2. So stack model is something which the plates follow, and the queue model is something which the people lining up for the food they follow. Okay, so stack is something like one on top of each other, but whatever plate has been put at the last is the one which is taken out first. But in a queue, the first in, first out, right? The person who was first in the queue will get the first chance to come out, or his turn will come first, right? So that is the queue model, all right? Okay, let's see the fourth question. What are the primary differences between SQL and no SQL databases? So this is a very, very important question, okay, which you have to be thorough with. So SQL is something like a relational DB, whereas no SQL, in the sense it's not a relational DB. So SQL is something which is synonymous with relational DB, wherein you have relationship between the tables, the columns, the row, and all that. Okay, but a NoSQL is something like, it's, you can basically call it as unstructured or a semi-structured database. Like in SQL, you have a clear established relationship. Like you have tables. Tables will have a column. This column will have rows. Sorry, these columns will have some rows, and these rows will have data, and these data may have some sort of relationship with primary key or foreign key relationship with columns of another table. Okay, so when you have something structured like this, then it comes under a relational DB or a relationship DB. But a NoSQL, MongoDB, Cassandra, Redis, if you have worked on it, then those are called as a NoSQL DB. All right. Okay. Okay. Right. So Let us see the next question. What are primary keys, foreign key, and unique key in DBMS? So primary key is something which uniquely identifies each record in a database table. Okay, so let us consider this as the student table. You have someone with the roll number 001, which is Ashish Kumar. You have someone with roll number 002, which is Devendra Das. You have someone with roll number 003, which is Mohammed Hamza, right? Now, what happens in this case? I can consider a roll number as the primary key, which is it uniquely identifies each record. In the sense 003 roll number uniquely identifies Mohammed Hamza, which means no two persons or no two entities can have this, which is a primary key. So if you have a name, then this is the primary key. So tomorrow, if you have a new joinee, say called as Rakshita, okay? I'll just give an example like Rakshita Salyan. Now this person cannot be assigned 003, right? Cannot be assigned 003 and she cannot be uniquely identified by this. So you will have something here called a 004 and so on. So this column uniquely identifies this column and that is called as a primary key. Okay. Now what is a foreign key? A field in one table that references the primary key of another table. So in this table called as students, roll number becomes the primary key. Okay. In a table called as roll numbers, where you are just defining the roll numbers but not the relationship, this becomes this column here uniquely maps to this column and that becomes the foreign key. Okay, so consider that this is a country and this is a country and this identifies the relationship in some foreign country, so this maps to this. Okay, now a unique key ensures that all values in a column are distinct. Okay, for example roll number. Now here I can read this as a unique key, or I can also in a student table, right? A roll number itself is again going to be the unique key because no two persons or no two students can have the same roll number. Okay, so a primary key and unique key are something similar in the way that primary can uniquely identify each record in a table, and a unique key ensures that all values in the column are different. All right. Okay. What is the difference between a process and a thread? Now, this is a very important question. For example, if you open something like a task manager, right, you will see that here there are processes. Okay, and here you can see a different threads of the same process. You can see their PID. You can, which is this comes in its own, different thread like structure, right? So let us go and explore or check out rather what is the basic difference between a process and a thread. So a process is a unique executing instance of a computer program, and processes run in separated, isolated memory spaces and require IPCs to exchange data. Okay. Now a thread is something like a smallest execution unit within a process. Threads belong to the same process, share the same process's allocated memory space and resources. So you can see that a process is something at a top level or at a parent level, and the breakdown of this top level is the thread, right? Okay, let us go to the next question. What happens when you type a URL into a web browser? Okay, so let us take an example here. I am just going to here and I'm just going to type something like www.facebook.com. Okay, or I'll just go and type something like www.microsoft.com. Okay, see, you can see that within 1 or 2 seconds you can see the Microsoft homepage has come here. So what exactly happens over there? The first part is DNS lookup. That is the browser. You are typing the human readable name, right? As I did with www.microsoft.com. So that gets converted into a machine readable IP address, which the process is called as DNS lookup. So you can go and see some of the other videos which I made, right, where I have explained DNS over there in a short video. The next thing which happens is called the TCP handshake, wherein the browser initiates a TCP IP connection with the server via a three-way handshake. Okay, it's sync, then sync acknowledgement, and the acknowledgement of the handshake, right? HTTP or HTTPS request. So you are specifying HTTP or HTTPS along with the domain name, and that request is sent by the browser to the target IP address, which is determined in this step, in the first step. Okay, all right. server processing, the web server. So as you know, all the content which we saw here in that page, right, which we saw here in this page, okay, comes from a web server. You have somewhere stored like what happens or which page needs to be shown to you when you click on shop Microsoft 365 and all these images. It just comes from a web server. Okay, it can be an IIS, an Apache server, or an Nginx server and all that. And then the page needs to be displayed to you in the proper format, right? Like where exactly the image is positioned, where should the button, what should be its color, so that the HTML and CSS files are parsed and shown to you, which is called as rendering. Okay, fine. Let's go to the next question. Okay, what is the difference between HTTP and HTTPS? Okay, so HTTP transmits data between the client and the server without any encryption. So it's in plain text, which is less secure, and it operates over the port number 80. Okay, so this operates over port number 80, whereas HTTPS operates over port 443. And the another main difference is that it uses a TLS and SSL encryption, which is a secure socket layer and transport layer security to secure the communication channel. That's why some of the banking sites and all that, when you are making a transaction, right, it happens over HTTPS, especially with passwords, credit card numbers, to prevent it from MITM or man in the middle attacks. Wherein if you are transmitting data over HTTPS, the attackers or a third party cannot break into your the communication which happens, and cannot steal that data since it's secure. But these days I think 99 or 98 to 99% of the websites are on HTTPS. All right, okay, let's move on. Okay, so the next question is about Git. So you might have heard of something like Azure DevOps, Team Foundation Server, TFS, or Git and all that. So what is this? A Git is nothing but a version control system wherein you can share the code repositories between different persons in your team, and people can collaborate and everyone can work at the same time. Okay, so Git is a distributed, means not a centrally controlled. Okay, it's not a centrally controlled, it's rather a distributed version control system that tracks changes in source code during software development and allows multiple developers to collaborate without overwriting each other's work. So this is the most important part. Okay, and you can also be thorough with some of the git commands. Okay, fine. Let us come to the last question in this series. What is recursion and what is a base case? Okay, so recursion is a programming technique where a function calls itself directly or indirectly to solve a smaller subproblem of a bigger task. And every recursive function must have a base case, because a recursion is something like repeated version of itself over and over again, right? Now, without a valid base case, you can run into something called as the stack overflow error. And finally, I would also like to give you some tips. Okay, master one language, like pick Java, C++, Python, C, PHP, like whatever it is, and make sure you practice some examples of the code, because most often in the interviews they'll ask you, they'll just give you a piece of paper without any mobile phone, without any tab, without any PC, without internet connection, and they would want to check whether you are able to write your own code. Okay, and especially if you're in your final years, you are in the midst of completing your final year project, or you are coming to an or you have already graduated but you're looking for a job, make sure you are thorough with your final year project. Okay, make sure you are thorough with that, and don't give any excuses like, I forgot my project, it was a year ago, it was 6 months ago, I was just a member of the team who was bringing the materials. No, so such excuses, they generally will present a bad picture of yourself. Okay, so all the best, and make sure you go through all the questions, and also make sure to like and subscribe the video. All the best. That's it. Bye bye.